Welcome to Let's Talk Portsmouth, a new communications venue for Portsmouth residents and others interested in the historic port city. If you are concerned about Portsmouth government news and information, Let's Talk Portsmouth is the podcast for you. Let's Talk Portsmouth airs the first and third Thursday of the month. We will talk city business, including interviews with city administrators, city department and agency directors, community and business partners, and all the people who keep things in motion on a local government scene. Now, here's your host, Sharon Hoggart.
All righty. Good day, everyone. This is Let's Talk Portsmouth. I'm your host, Sharon Hoggart from the Department of Marketing and Communications. And before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the Civic League groups that came to City Hall this week. We're in the week of November 15th, and they came out in unison, and it was a great conversation, and we're just so glad that all of you stopped by the City Hall to talk to the city staff, and thank you for coming. All right, on this episode, we're going to have a conversation about foster care and adoption by way of the UP Center, an organization that's been around since the 1800s. The UP Center provides more than 20 critical support services for children and families. Joining us is Ms. Sabrina Carr, Outreach Coordinator for the UP Center's Foster Care and Adoption Program. Stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.
Courage. I learned it from my adoptive mom. Hold my hand.
You hold my hand. Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back, and you're listening to Let's Talk Portsmouth. Joining us on this episode is Ms. Sabrina Carr, again, from the UP Center. Sabrina, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us on Let's Talk Portsmouth. Before we start, we're going to have a little icebreaker question here. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you landed at the UP Center.
Absolutely. So first, thank you for having me. So I have a background in community outreach and have been doing that professionally for over 15 years now. I've worked with state and local government, the private sector, and also the nonprofit world. I've always been drawn to work that directly helps people. I always call myself a conduit. I like connecting people and connecting resources. And I had known about the UP Center and their great reputation in the community. And when I saw the outreach position open up, I jumped on it. And I've been with the UP Center now for 2.5 years.
Okay. So explain to our audience what exactly is the UP Center? Who is the UP Center?
So the UP Center is the region's oldest and largest family services organization. As you mentioned, we've been around since the early 1800s. And overall, our mission is to change the trajectory of children and families from crisis to wholeness. And the way we do that is by those 20 plus programs you mentioned, and those include like mental health counseling, youth mentoring, our housing and financial counseling, as well as our foster care and adoption program.
Okay. And so you answered question number 2 about the organization's critical support services. So your organization helps to take families from crisis to wholeness. Can you give us an example of the steps a family would go through when they come to you for help? They're in crisis and they come to you for help.
Absolutely. So it just really depends on what services they're looking for. And so, for example, if I know one of our departments that we have financial and housing counseling. So if someone is having a crisis financially, so needing assistance with, utility bills or in jeopardy of losing their home, we have counselors through our agency that are certified to be able to walk them through that process. So it's really just an intake process, finding out what their needs are and exactly what we need to do to be able to help them.
So as the organization's outreach coordinator, explain to us about your role in that field.
So that's just a fancy way of saying I recruit individuals and families to join our foster parent team. I'm also the face of the program out in the community, giving presentations and just overall bringing awareness to the need for foster parents and what our program does and how the community can support.
Okay. If someone is interested in becoming a foster parent, what are the requirements?
So for our program at the Up Center, you have to be at least 25 years old. You have to have at least one bedroom available for foster children. Obviously, be able to pass all of our background checks. We do 3 background checks. And then commit to all of our trainings. We do about a 5-week comprehensive training for our prospective families, and you have to be able to commit to attend all of those.
Okay. Does the person have to be married to be a foster parent?
So that's a really big myth in the community. I'm not sure where it came from. But no, you don't have to be married. On our foster parent team, we have foster parents that are single, married, divorced, and even widowed. And all of them are absolutely amazing foster parents.
So does the person have to be have been a parent before? So somebody that never had any children or dealt with them, could they become a foster parent as well?
They absolutely can. So even if you haven't parented before, that's not a problem. We do look to see that you've had some experience with children, so maybe children within your family, or even mentoring of some sort. So some relationships with, being around children, but you don't have to have any parenting experience coming into our foster parent team.
And Sabrina, we didn't talk about this before, but I wanted to ask you, since you know that there was maybe a difference. Is there a difference between your regulations for foster parenting and the states, like through the Department of Social Services?
So we get asked that question all the time. So we are both licensed through the same licensing body, so the Virginia Department of Social Services. Mm-hmm. The Up Centers program, we are what's considered a therapeutic foster care program. And so what that means is that the children that are fostered within our agency have some higher level needs, possibly emotionally, medically, or even behaviorally. And so because of that, we provide some higher level training to our families, which is a little bit different than what social services may do, because we want to ensure that our families can accommodate those needs. What makes us a little bit different as well is some of the specific supports that we're able to provide to our families. So one support that we provide through the Up Center is I facilitate our quarterly support group. Mm-hmm. That's a way that our families can really get to know each other, bounce ideas off of each other, best practices. And then we are able to provide some additional supports also to the children that are coming into our care as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, this question, I heard this a lot among people talking about foster care and adoption. Do families or individuals have to have a specific income to adopt or be a foster parent?
So what people are looking for is, is there a magic number in terms of the amount of income that we're looking for? Mm-hmm. So there's no magic number, but we're making sure that our families have a surplus in their income after all of their expenses have been taken care of. We require, as a part of our application process, to complete a household budget worksheet, and that allows us to see what your income is and all of your expenses, because we want to make sure at the end of the day that you're able to comfortably, financially, take care of any children that would join your family, and that you can have the most open heart and open home. You can have the space, but if financially it's going to be a burden to you, we don't want to do that to you.
Mm-hmm. And go over again the type of training that's involved in becoming a foster parent. Is it training different than, is it something different that a foster parent would go through versus somebody that was adopting?
So it's a little bit the same. So the way our agency does, all of our families that are coming in are foster parents. So they're coming in with the intent to foster. The ultimate goal may be to adopt, but that doesn't always happen. Mm-hmm. And so we use a curriculum called PRIDE, and that stands for Parent Resources for Information, Development, and Education. And that really talks about like childhood development, brain development. And then we also require certifications in CPR and first aid as well.
Okay. All right. Stay with us, everybody. We're going to take a short break. Be right back.
Adoption of teens from foster care is a topic not enough people know about, and we're here to change that. I'm April Dinwiddie, host of the new podcast, Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Each episode brings you compelling real-life adoption stories told by the families that live them with commentary from experts. Visit adoptuskids.org/podcast or subscribe to Navigating Adoption, presented by Adopt US Kids. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families and the Ad Council.
All right, you're listening to Let's Talk Portsmouth, and we're talking with Sabrina Carr from the UP Center about becoming a foster parent. So, we already talked about the topics that are covered in training. How much does it cost to foster with your agency? Is there a fee or price involved?
No, there's no cost. The only thing that our prospective foster families have to pay up front is for their background check. Their fingerprints that we do, but once they get that receipt, we reimburse them for that. But there's no upfront cost for any prospective families for us.
Okay. What are some of the ranges of children that come into care with your agency?
So we're licensed through the Virginia Department of Social Services to accept children from birth all the way to 18.
Well, is there a cutoff date or cutoff age, though, for being a foster kid or being in foster care?
No, not necessarily. But for our agency and you know, obviously around our community and around the country as a whole, the referrals that we receive, there's a high level need for families willing to accept children ages 10 and up. And there's also a need for families willing to accept sibling groups, but there's no cutoff. That 18 is that cutoff for when children could enter into care.
I'm going to ask you to give some information about the organization, and I'll have you repeat it at the end of the podcast. If somebody's interested in fostering, how do they get in touch with your organization?
So they would just reach out to probably me by phone by reaching me at 757-965-8638. They can always email me at sabrina.carr, that's with 2 R's, at theupcenter.org. They can also check us out on our website at theupcenter.org. And then our social media platforms, you can just search the UP Center and you can find us too.
And take my word for it, folks, the UP Center website is off the chain good. You can find all kinds of information, including the history of the organization, which I found fascinating. Okay, we know that responsibilities, the foster parents have certain responsibilities they're going to undertake. So what are the top 3 responsibilities you want people to know about when they're going to foster a child?
So I would say the first is that, you know, respecting the child's confidential information. They're going to be made aware of circumstances involving the children and possibly their biological family. And we just ask, you know, that you just keep that to yourself. Second would be that families are required to provide transportation to all appointments. Those could be medical appointments, dental appointments, therapy appointments. And then third is really to be flexible and understanding as a whole that you're parenting a child, number one, that doesn't belong to you. And number 2, you're going to be doing that for an unknown amount of time. And I know for some people that could sound really scary. But just we kind of guide our families and say, kind of be in the moment. They could leave your home today, tomorrow, next week, next year. But just to be flexible and understanding to that.
Our family isn't ready to foster yet. Are there other ways we can support the UP Center's foster care and adoption program?
Absolutely. So I always realize that when I'm talking to people, obviously my first and foremost role is to recruit foster families, but I know people aren't always going to be ready, or maybe they're kind of in the fact-finding phase. And so what we have now, the holidays are coming up, obviously, and we want to make sure that all of the children in our program get to enjoy the magic and the joy of the holidays. So we have a star tree that's located inside of Pembroke Mall. It's right in the Target wing. It's already up now. Will be up until December 4th. And we ask that the community select a star from the tree. The star has the wish list from all of the children in our program. Select a star, purchase items from the wish list, and return the gifts to the marked box unwrapped. And then we will make sure that we get them to the families so that those kiddos can have a wonderful Christmas. We know folks may not be able to get to Pembroke Mall or maybe don't want to shop. And so we, want to support our families to be able to meet the needs of children that are entering into care, because oftentimes they come into care with absolutely nothing. And so we're seeking donations of gift cards to places like Walmart, Target, or even Amazon. And this allows the families to go out and get all of those necessities pretty quickly when they have a child or children join their home. And since we are a nonprofit organizations, all of those donations, you will get a letter from us, and they are tax deductible.
Oh, that was going to be my next question there. Okay, wonderful. All right, stay with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break for this important message.
I think it's just vapor.
Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vaping. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back. This has been a great conversation and great information. Thank you, Sabrina Carr from the Up Center, for appearing on our podcast. Any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our listening audience? And don't forget to give that information again on how they can reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful. I would say just my last thoughts, that just letting folks know that there is a great need in our community for foster parents. So if you're thinking about it, have been thinking about it, go ahead and take that first step to just learn more. And also know that not every agency is the same. So if you're thinking about fostering, just make sure and find the agency that works for you and your family. You can always reach me if you have any questions by reaching me at 757-965-8638. You can email me at sabrina.carr with 2 R's at theupcenter.org. You can contact or look through our website at theupcenter.org, or look at our social media platforms by searching up the Up Center.
All righty. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that great information. Have a happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for downloading and listening to Let's Talk Portsmouth. You can find our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including the Podbean app, Amazon Music Audible, and the Let's Talk Portsmouth link can also be found on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Share our podcast with your family and friends. Keep downloading and listening. We appreciate you. Talk to you later. We're out of here.
Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Portsmouth, the podcast that's all about the city of Portsmouth. Check out our next episode for more news you can use and information that may just change your perspective. Find our podcasts on Apple and Google Podcasts, the Podbean app, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Until next time, take care.